Few places are more beautiful than Ohio in the springtime. Nature comes back to life after the drabness of winter, and Ohioans eagerly return outdoors to enjoy nature. But there are times when winter refuses to leave quietly, and the wrath of nature delays the onset of a new season. We saw nature at its worst when Hurricane Katrina struck. In Ohio, the brutality of nature was never more evident than in the spring of 1913. Ohioans were used to some spring flooding, but in 1913, record amounts fell for days. The rivers and streams throughout the state quickly rose above flood stage. In an attempt to stem the flow of water, officials dynamited the remaining locks of the Ohio Canal. It was to no avail. The flood killed 428 people, destroyed more than 20,000 homes, closed thousands of businesses, some permanently, and caused property damage that would be in the hundreds of millions in today's dollars. It remains the greatest natural disaster in Ohio history. The devastating flood prompted quick action in the state capital. With the support of Governor Cox, the legislature passed the Vonderheide Act, which became known as the Ohio Conservancy Law of 1914. The law created conservancy districts across the state, and they were empowered to take action to prevent future floods. As with almost any political act, there were opponents, but they were few and they could not dispute the obvious need for action. The districts were given the authority to levy assessments on property owners to help pay for the improvements. And they worked with the federal government to design and build the nation's first flood reduction system, much of which remains active today. The Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District was created in 1933, and a partnership soon was formed with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The relationship was confirmed by Congress with passage of the Flood Control Act of 1939, which gave the Corps responsibility for operating the dams and the MWCD responsibility for the many reservoirs used for flood reduction and conservation. Many of the dams that make up the heart of the flood reduction system were built from 1935 to 1938 as part of the government's public works program during the Great Depression. They used the best technology available at the time, and although these dams are now 70 years old, we all have benefited from the foresight and ingenuity of our ancestors.
I guess I would have to say, first of all, how grateful I am to our forefathers who had the idea of the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District.
Those people had the courage and the foresight to proceed with it. As a result, our generations since then have been the beneficiaries.
Even though the MWCD is the largest of the districts, it has not had to consider an assessment to raise funds until now. It has been able to serve the public for more than 70 years by providing excellent recreational activities that generate revenue and also through sound fiscal management. In addition to the popular recreational activities, the MWCD supports local, state, and federal efforts to improve the quality of our drinking water and to remove hazardous conditions such as coal mine runoff. A portion of the money generated by the assessment will be designated to assist local governments with eligible flood reduction and water quality projects in the district's 18-county region. Local residents will help prioritize the projects and submit them to the MWCD. The assessment program can fund up to $270 million in projects, providing numerous local jobs. Much of the money for flood reduction and water quality, up to more than 96%, comes from the federal government, meaning local residents only pay slightly more than 3% on many projects. Local funds will also assist in much-needed projects, such as sediment removal and erosion control. The assessment for individual homeowners is only $12 per year. Businesses pay up to $132 per acre each year. Recent studies found that for every $12 invested, a local resident gets more than $2,000 in benefits. As important as water quality, a safe environment, and job creation are, they all pale in significance to the primary mission of the MWCD: flood reduction. Disasters occur swiftly, and too many areas in the United States are protected by dams, levees, and reservoirs that are decades old. as we all saw in New England in 2006.
On the other side of the country, where much of New England is tonight suffering through a 5th day of misery and rain. Today, there were worries about a dam in the town of Methuen, Mass. Specifically, would it hold? That is where NBC's Dawn Fratangelo is tonight. Dawn, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. It has been 70 years since this much water with so much force has come crashing over this dam. Officials were concerned about its stability, but tonight it is holding. Also tonight, officials are reporting the first death as a result of this major storm.
Overnight, powerful river water threatened to topple this dam with the potential to flood the town of Methuen. Luckily, it held.
Be careful, because some of that's closed down, too. You have to
Weary residents who keep running into waterlogged roadblocks are saying enough already. Flooded businesses are losing money.
You don't have money to pay your bills for your mortgage and so forth at home.
And New England natives, peace of mind.
It's kind of tough. I've never seen anything like this, and I've lived here for 40 years.
We're here on the banks of the Tuscarawas River, and as you can see today, the river is tranquil, but that was not the case in January of 2005.
In 2005, we narrowly avoided a disaster when heavy winter rains fell on still frozen ground, flooding many areas in our region.
The Tuscarawas County Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency is issuing a voluntary evacuation notice for residents of Wilshire Hills, Zoar, and Mineral City due to rising floodwaters. Residents of these areas will be isolated for a minimum of 1 week if they choose to remain in their homes beyond 9 o'clock this evening.
Although disaster was averted, the region may not be so fortunate the next time.
Well, we may never know exactly how close we came. We do know that we reached a record capacity behind this dam in 2005, and that this dam has concern. Failure of the dam could create catastrophic conditions downstream and could have disastrous impacts on the communities of Dover, New Philadelphia, and as far south as Zanesville and Marietta ultimately.
The Army Corps of Engineers estimates a Dover Dam failure could cause more than 700 deaths and $670 million in property damage.
Every day we delay the important work that is to be done under this plan, including repairs to the dams and improvement of water quality in our reservoirs, is a day that we take a greater risk.
My company is not too far from the river. Frankly, I was surprised to learn that we'd be underwater in a situation where we had a dam failure at the Dover Dam. That would mean 100 jobs would be underwater as well. 100 families would be out of work, out of a source of income. My company would probably be out of business in those circumstances too. I mean, look at the area in which we live. I'm willing to pay my share, and I think most people are going to be willing to pay their share to be able to protect what we have and to grow on the positive attributes we have.